Ooh, another white boy with a podcast. Pronouns, Jim Bro. Another white boy with a podcast. You want to see the video? It went viral.
Hi Gains Gurus and welcome to TMGP, the Muscle Growth Podcast, Episode 6. I am your host, Roscoe, and today we are welcoming Ninja Warrior Ginny Maccoll onto the show. Ginny is an actress, dancer, and competitive athlete in both Ninja Warrior and swimming. She began her career in New York City as a dancer in the hit Broadway show Pippin in 1974, then transitioned into the commercial world and did over 100 national and regional commercials throughout the 70s and 80s. After a 20-year hiatus to raise her family and work in radio, Ginny rekindled her acting career in retirement in Southport, North Carolina, and also began strength training, inspired by her daughter, Jessie Graff, who has gone farther than any female on American Ninja Warrior. At 63 years old, Ginny did her very first pull-up and later competed on American Ninja Warrior Season 9, 10, and 15, making history at age 71 as the oldest person to complete an obstacle. She was named the oldest competitive female ninja athlete in the 2024 Guinness World Record Book. Ginny continues to compete regionally in ninja competitions and local, state, and national swim meets. She also appeared as Evelyn, one of Diane Keaton's 8 cheerleaders in the movie Poms, Dorothy in USS Christmas on Hallmark's movie, and Mysteries Channel Agnes Miller in Stars Fell on Alabama, Beverly in And Just Like That, and Mau Mau in You Are Cordially Invited. In today's episode, we can look forward to advice from Jessie Graff, discussions about it never being too late or too old to start your fitness journey, slow but continuous progress, the importance of pull-ups, Ninja Warrior, women lifting weights, discipline and commitment, strength being ageless, and movement being key. Given that brief glimpse into Ginny's extraordinary life, let's jump right into the show. Hi, Ginny.
Hey, good to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on. Can you briefly introduce yourself and your journey into the world of Ninja Warrior?
Well, it's not a brief story because I'm 72 years old, so I have a lot of history that brought me to where I am right now. But I would say very first, I was a dancer, and I went to New York to be a professional dancer. And I stopped that when I was around 30 years old. I had 2 children and, married, had 2 children and lived in New York City. And then I transitioned to doing commercials, playing the housewife and mom in many different, commercials like for Jordache or Folgers, Mr. Clean, all these major network commercials, which was a great way to have a life. So I kind of transitioned from being a dancer to being an actress and moving on to doing a Broadway show called Pippin in 1976, starting in 1973 and going to like 1976 in that time period. And from there, I actually got a divorce, and so I became a single mother, which was a hardship and an obstacle in its own way. And from there, I moved on and having a dream to always get back to acting. So my second love after dance was acting. So I knew that it wouldn't happen right away, that I could get back to it. But I thought even if I was a granny, I would be sure to somehow find a way to get back into my true love, which was acting. And when I retired, that's what I did. And that's when I discovered Ninja through my daughter. She is one of the top ninja warriors in the show American Ninja Warrior and has gone the farthest of any female when it comes to completing different stages. And I saw her and I saw how beautiful she looked and how healthy she looked. And she had muscles and she flew through the air. And I was there cheering her on, always cheering her on. But I looked at her and I went, I want to get stronger. And in my generation, in my day, women were not encouraged to lift weights. I didn't have the upper body strength. Dance gave me strength in a different way, but it certainly wasn't upper body, strong muscles. So I looked at her and I said, I want to get stronger. And she said many different things, but what stuck in my mind was do pull-ups. So I tried as hard as I could to do pull-ups. I got the bar and I put it in the closet, which was in between the door frame. And I worked on it. And I sent her a video and she said, oh, Mom, I love what you're doing and how hard you're working on this, but that's not a real pull-up. A real pull-up is when you get your chin over the bar and when you go all the way down to your arms are straight. So I went to a personal trainer because I knew this was not going to happen. And you don't just work on, pull-ups. You've got to strengthen the chest and the back and the arms and the shoulders and all around. So it took me about 7 months before I really started to see any definition. And people noticed. And that was fun. That kept me going. I think you need to see something. And I think that's why so many people stop early. But I didn't get a pull-up until an entire year had gone by. And in the meantime, I did more lifting and more strengthening and leg work. What we call it is push-pull and leg day. So you're all around getting stronger. And that sort of led me to Ninja. So is that brief enough?
No, it's fantastic. And that's such a great intro. What age were you when you did your first pull-up?
Well, I started working on it when I was 63. I don't think I got it until I was 64. And I went on American Ninja Warrior when I was 65. And I could only do a few pull-ups at that point. I certainly wasn't ready to be on American Ninja Warrior, but I tried. Once I was there, I was committed.
And then I see at 69, you did your first salmon ladder.
I did. That was such an accomplishment for me because it seems to me that is the hardest thing to accomplish. And it eluded me. And I kept trying and trying and trying. I tried in a smaller way so I wasn't having to lift so far up. And I tried, and that took me forever to get the first one and then forever to go to the second one because you're high up and I didn't have a harness or anything to get started on. And I was on an outdoor course, so you don't really have pads and a lot of, you have mattresses, but then that can be its own danger too. So yeah, that was that. And that's a hard one to keep consistent on, like pull-ups. If you don't, continually do them over time, you lose that muscle development, that know-how to do it again.
That mind-muscle connection.
Yes.
So what was going through your mind when you got it the first time?
Oh, I think I screamed and I kicked and I jumped up and down and I was like, I did it. It was dramatic.
Wow. I always used to watch, I don't know if you know the show, that Green Arrow. Oliver Queen, he always did that in the intro. He did the salmon ladder and I was always like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's epic. And now you've done it. You're now the real, the real Green Arrow in real life.
Yes. Well, I went to a competition recently and they had the salmon ladder as the first obstacle, which is
What?
yes.
But yeah.
I was just warmed up and I wasn't exhausted after doing 6 obstacles. So in a way, it turned out good for me. So I only had to do 2 rungs to get to the next step. And I was able to just do 1 rung and then go on. And they're going, hey, you got 1, just do another. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to tempt fate. I don't want to fall on the first obstacle again.
So how does that work? Sorry, I don't know the rules of Ninja Warrior. How does it work? Like, you said you only had to do the first 2. Why is that? How does the different obstacles work?
In American Ninja Warrior, you go from one obstacle to another, and it generally starts with some kind of steps, generally, not always. And there are like 6 different obstacles, and they get harder as time goes on. And some of them have to do with balance. So in American Ninja Warrior, if you fall, you're done because you fall in the water and that's it. So, that's as far as you get to go. In regional competitions, some of them are that way. They have a lot of different rules and regulations. And I like the ones where you get to keep going and they're point based. So if you fall on an obstacle, like the third obstacle, then you just don't get the points for it and you go on to the next one. So you get a chance to continue on. And that's the kind I like the most because, you've traveled to get to a competition and you've spent money to be in the competition and you want to get a chance to get on the obstacles. So,
and you've been training and all of that, and then you have one slip up and you're over. That's very difficult and challenging to overcome that.
yeah, no, it's not easy.
I believe that you did overcome that in season 9. I think that you fell in one of the obstacles and then you came back because you have a very supportive husband who believed in you and said that you're going to come back and do it. And I believe you did it 2 more times after that.
That is correct. I fell on the first obstacle 2 times, season 9 and 10. Season 9, I barely could do pull-ups. And I remember getting right up there when they go 3, 2, 1, boop, and you go. And I just went, what am I doing here? Because it's over water and the steps were far apart and they were on an incline. So it was like, what have I done? But you have to go and try it. And my foot slipped on one of the steps and I was in the water and I was like, this couldn't have happened. I felt like I had let everybody down, my family, my friends, all seniors, everything. It was just devastating. And it took me a long time to get over that. I kept reliving it. Like if you've ever been in a car accident, you just keep hearing the sound of the metal crashing. You just keep feeling the water and the slip and how did it happen? And it went over and over. And then when the show came on air, on TV, they didn't show me, which I was grateful for, but I saw all these athletes doing that obstacle and they made it look so easy. And it really wasn't. It's not as easy as they make it look. So then I went through the whole season watching it going, oh my gosh, but yes, my husband, he says, you'll do it again. And I'm like, why? Why do you think I'll do it again? And he goes, because you can. And my daughter also was very instrumental in it. She said, don't let one fall define you. Look how far you've come. Look how strong you've got. And, I really dwelt on that a lot. Like, yeah, I enjoy it. And I know I can do it. So I practiced and practiced and practiced. And I did it the following year after having practiced those steps over and over again. And I fell again. And this time I wasn't as mad at myself because I went, I've practiced for this. Something is my legs are just not strong enough. And so from there, I tested obstacles for other regions on American Ninja Warrior. So I was able to get on the obstacles. And I discovered that just one of my legs was far weaker than the other. And if I pushed off the same leg going to each of the steps, then I was able to get through it okay. So I learned a lot, and plus testing the obstacles for American Ninja Warrior was a great time because you don't have the pressure and you can get up there and do it several different times. So that was a great experience for me, but it took me another 5 years before I did it again. Yeah, that time I did finish the first obstacle, which was very different. Now, see, they usually keep the same obstacle for several years. Like they had the steps that I fell on for several years, and then they switched it to a different type of step. So you jump to you leap through the steps, and then you grab a rope and you swing to a platform. So I had that down packed. But in season 15, when I just did it this past year, they changed it so totally different. It was like a pole vault where you jump on a mini tramp to a pole, and the pole goes down to a platform. So you have to climb very fast in order to reach the platform. So now that's not something I've practiced a lot in my past. I'm not a gymnast, never have been. I don't know how to do mini tramps that well. So I tried to practice that the day before, having gotten wind of kind of what it was about. You're not able to see the obstacles before you go on them. You can't touch them or anything, or you're out. So you just try to think best of how to work on the mini tramp. And so I was able to get to the pole from the mini tramp, but not high enough. So I had to really, 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 climb very fast. And I was able to reach to the platform and go to the second obstacle.
And is that what your Guinness World Record was? Was completing that first obstacle and being the oldest person to, or oldest, is it oldest person or oldest female to complete a obstacle at American Ninja Warrior?
I am the oldest person to complete an obstacle on American Ninja Warrior, which was, I didn't know it at the time. If I'd known it, I probably would have been more nervous about it, because I thought maybe I could have been the oldest female, but I certainly didn't know I was the oldest person. But no, that was not the Guinness record at all, because I was talking to my daughter. I was like, I don't understand how they got me at 70 years old, because I did American Ninja Warrior for the first time when I was 65. So where did they come up with 70? And she's like, Mom, this isn't American Ninja Warrior. This is the world. And it suddenly dawned on me that this was huge. This was the entire world. And they get that information from these leagues that we do. We have World Ninja League, and those are separate from American Ninja Warrior, which is a TV show where you need skill and personality, and it's made up of different things entirely. But for the Guinness Book of World Records, it was the oldest female in a ninja competition in the world.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible.
I was.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was, it brought me to possibly you and people all over the world. I've spoken to TV stations in London and in Mexico. I've talked to podcasts in India and now South Africa. And so it's been a whirlwind to see it, really, people and women in general who have the same problems I did, that we weren't encouraged to lift weights. So, we're all the same, even though we're all different all over the world, trying to deal with health and fitness and diet and sleep and how to get stronger.
Can you go more into detail about those factors you just mentioned about diet, sleep, training in the gym, that kind of thing?
Well, as a senior, it's very difficult to get enough sleep, because you wake up all the time and then you can't get back to sleep. So it's a very difficult thing. I'm sure a lot of people have the same kind of issues. So it's my goal to get at least 7 hours of sleep. And if I can't do that, I want to take a nap. But there are some days where, you just are exhausted the next day and you just have to try your best to get through it. So sleep is, you want to get enough deep sleep so you get, and REM sleep so you get your mental and your physical recovery time, especially if you're doing a lot of exercise. So sleep is very important. Hydration is key. And that's something I don't think I ever did growing up, because as a child, that's a different story. But as you get, as a dancer, we didn't walk around with water bottles like you're taking out right now. We didn't do that. It was coffee in the morning. We just didn't take care of it. We didn't know to do that. So I've got mine right here. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and it's hard to get all that water during the day and to get the electrolytes. So it's not just plain water, but sometimes you need to find and you know what? All those drinks that they have out there, they have things in them that are not necessarily what you want to be putting in your body. That's a whole different issue, but like sucralose or erythritol are in tons of drinks, and I see those and I go, I can't have that. And so it's very difficult to find the right kinds of hydration to have. What else? You were talking about diet. Okay, that's a big issue because so many people have different ways and things and issues they're dealing with their bodies. I can only tell you from myself what I've gone through, and it's basically to get a half a plate of protein, a half a plate of vegetables. That's it in a nutshell. I do a lot of fish. I live on the coast in North Carolina and the U.S., and so I'm able to get fresh fish. And that is really my biggest staple. And I'll tell you what brought me to that was I have heart disease in my family. My mother had 11 stents in her arteries. My brother has recently just had 5 stents put in. So I was very cognizant about how that would affect me. And in one of the tests that I had, they said that in my carotid, I had 50 to 70% occluded plaque. All I heard was 70%, and that terrified me. And actually, when they do the test, you can see it. I could watch it. I could see that clump of plaque in there, and it just terrified me. So they sent me to a vascular surgeon, and he said, they read it wrong. We don't worry about this until it's 80%. I'm like, what? Is there nothing I can do? No, there's nothing you can do. And I'm like, whoa. And I read this book where I had to be very careful about everything that I ate. It was called Prescription for Life. And that is a whole different thing that a lot of people would probably not want to do, but because of the issues I was dealing with, which was I stopped meat, all red meat. I stopped all dairy. I tried to stay away from saturated fats or anything that had cholesterol in it. And that's no sodas, but that wasn't a problem. I never had sodas, very little sweets. And, I love ice cream, so that was really difficult for me. So there was nothing in the house to eat, really. So it was a period of transition where I went on that diet for 2 years. It was a strict diet. And so I went back to the vascular surgeon. They did another test, and they said it was 40%. I'm like, okay, so was that how you read the report? Was that the machine that you used, or and was it diet? And she said it was probably all 3 things. So I've modified that now. So I still have mostly fish, turkey, chicken, whatever, and I will have meat. I think it's a good protein builder for exercise, but I only have it like maybe once a month. And the same thing with dairy. I don't have dairy, but if I'm at somebody else's house and they use butter, I'm not going to shove it aside. I don't have an allergy to these things. I just try to stay away from them as much as possible. So my diet is I'll use cashew milk instead of regular milk. I use some of the yogurts and ice cream that uses oat milk or cashew milk or various things like that. And I feel good. I feel energetic, and it works for me. I have nothing against the carnivore diet. I don't quite understand it, but I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian. So, I think all of those have their pluses. And depending on what you need in your life, I guess you'll know if things aren't working well. You'll know.
So your diet's
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So your diet, you'd say, is based on your health first and then performance secondary.
Yes, definitely health first. I had to think about that for a minute. And performance with all the protein. That was one of the hardest things when I started preparing for the first Ninja Warrior was, how do I get enough protein? And so it's difficult. I try to get 1 gram per body weight. So I try to get about 120, 125 grams of protein a day. And that's not easy because at each meal, you might have 25, 35 grams of protein in a meal. And so that's not going to get you there. To start with, I got those bars that you have that are supposed to be high protein. And then I saw all the sugar in them. And I was like, I don't want to replace it with that. So I find different ways of getting that protein in that fourth meal. That's really important. So you're right. Health first and exercise, fitness second.
So did you say protein 1 gram per pound of body weight?
That's what I said. Yeah, that's what I work towards.
That's perfect. If you're getting that's been shown in lots of studies to be optimal and great for your muscles, great for your health. So that's exactly where you want to be.
That's what I like to hear.
In terms of health, I believe that you were diagnosed with, I'm probably going to butcher it, but osteopenia.
That's it.
Is
Osteopenia.
that correct?
All right. Osteopenia is a step before osteoporosis. So when I started lifting weights, I mean, you do read, they do say lifting weights helps with the bone mass. And so when I went for my first bone density test after lifting weights, I was just so ecstatic, like, oh, I wonder if this is going to change anything. And I asked the technician, and she said, no, she's never seen that happen before, only with medicines, the statins. And I'm like, but the report came back. And it had statistically significant changes. The report read, and it was back to normal. So I can't say that that's going to continue all my life as I age, because I mean the studies say that you lose 1 to 2% of your bone mass per year after age 50. I think it's like, yeah. So I don't know that I can continue that, but I'm so far so good. And I can't say that that would pertain to everyone, but I certainly tell people, it's not going to hurt you unless you hurt yourself and you're not doing it right, which is why I always say, get a personal trainer. Because if you're like me and you've never lifted weights, I didn't know what I was doing. And it's so easy to do it wrong and hurt yourself. There's a lot of injuries in lifting if you don't know the proper form to take. So it's important to do that. And I will shout that to the world, it's so important to lift weights at any age. There've been studies done of people in their 90s that do resistance training and have had crazy improvement and been able to get rid of their canes or their walkers. So, and we didn't have those role models growing up of people, taking fitness to this level where you're really able to reverse an osteopenia. But wouldn't it be wonderful if younger people, in their 20s and 30s, had this habit that they did the exercise and maybe they wouldn't ever get osteopenia or osteoporosis. Wouldn't that be great? I mean, if you don't try, how do you know? So I constantly am trying to shout to the world, do this and do the weightlifting, have instruction with proper form, and you're going to reduce so many different health risks out there. Your heart is a muscle, so you got to pump that heart and get the blood flowing well. The bones, you balance. Balance is a huge issue as well. So you want to try to do, I saw something somewhere where they said, can you balance on one foot when you're 50 years old for 40 seconds, and when you're 60 years old for 20 seconds, and when you're 70 years old for 10 seconds. You want to be close to a table or a counter or something to catch yourself, but I don't want anybody hurting themselves, but try it. See where you stand in that level. Balance, if you fall, you could break a bone. So, these things are just so important to practice on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. And I agree. I think resistance training is incredibly important. And I think that it's one of the major keys to longevity. I've done quite a lot of research with regards to longevity, and muscle mass is one of the most important factors with regards to not slowing down your aging. Obviously, everyone ages at the same rate, but biologically aging it down.
But I
And
think that the muscle loss, it you don't lose muscle unless you don't use it. So
exactly.
yeah, you lose 30% of your lean muscle by 60 and 50% by 70. That's horrible. So you don't want to do that. You want to be able to open jars. And that's another thing is grip strength. I saw my mom not be able to open something. I mean, that's terrible in this day and age to go to a grocery store and not be able to open it, or all the pill bottles are just so difficult. Or let me not say pill bottles, but unless needed. But supplements, they're so difficult to handle. And I was just reading about grip strength is overall, it shows your overall health. And I was trying to read and find out why exactly they say that grip strength is the thing that is going to help you or show what health that you have. So it's interesting.
Absolutely. And I know you've got insane grip strength from more training. I saw some really, really good strength.
Well, I work on it a lot, to
very
tell you the
difficult.
truth. I take,
Yeah.
well, I have it right here. If you're on video, you can see. This is what you get on broccoli when you go to the grocery store.
Oh, no ways.
And I
No
do
way.
kind of an exercise when you're sitting and watching.
With an elastic band.
Exactly.
No ways. That's incredible.
I do that, and then I have what I
Sure.
call grip cutters, where you twist different ways. But I do a lot of finger exercises. I have arthritis. If I have like huge knuckles, they're like, if I didn't move them, I don't know where I would be. But I am constantly trying to keep them active because they say, what do they say? They say they don't rust. Active muscles don't rust. So that's what I try to do a lot. And then, in Ninja Warrior, we hang by our fingertips on the cliffhangers. So all of that, hanging from a bar is great for your grip strength too. I do a lot of that. I try to at least hold a minute hanging from a bar.
Wow. A minute's very long to hold from a bar.
It gets, yeah. I have calluses to show it.
Yeah, me as well. They don't clean the bars at gym enough, and they always make my calluses really dirty, which is really nasty.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You have to shave them actually, because if you don't shave them or keep them down because they get big, and then if you're doing laches, which is when you throw the bar behind you and catch another bar 4 or 5 feet, 6 feet, some people 10 feet, not me, but you can rip it. And then if you have a ripped callus, it's no good.
No, that is no good. I want to go back to your curing of your bone mineral density. I think you said it was, I know, so you didn't say, but it was only a 2-year period that you'd been lifting weights that went from the condition, the diagnosis, to normal levels.
Yes.
And that's absolutely incredible. And like you mentioned, it might not happen to everyone, but I've seen quite a bit of data, at least anecdotally, that has shown that people that do resistance training, that gym and lift weights in particular, they can reverse the bone mineral density declining and actually increase bone mineral density all the way through many, many years.
Yes, and that's so important. You don't want the bones to be too soft.
Brittle.
Like I said, all you need to do is just fall the wrong way and you can fracture a bone. So these are things that, again, I wish started early. That should just be a part of everybody's training, is to do, proper formed weightlifting. I wish I'd done it.
You do. Everyone should do it. It's crazy that it's not more mainstream, and like you said, you're happy that it's becoming more mainstream, and I agree. I'm very stoked about the fact that now it's not just the gym bros, it's everyone. And lots, like you mentioned, in the 60s it wasn't it was frowned upon to lift weights for females, and nowadays it's actually everyone should be lifting weights. Every human should be lifting weights. And that's an incredible transition that we've gotten from
I would say it's a lot mental, because these cultural norms are very difficult to get out of your head. And if you feel that you're going to get too bulky, it's like, well, I don't want to, I'm not going to do that. But we have to get rid of stereotypes. Like, it's not feminine to sweat, or you're going to get too bulky.
That's ridiculous.
But in reality, we didn't have here, and I don't know what it was where you are, but we didn't have powerlifting until 1978 for women. And Title IX, I think. Title IX, is that the one where women's sports, you couldn't discriminate against sex in sports? And that's when they started having, in colleges, they would have female sports teams. But you see, in 72, I was already in my 20s. So all that time growing up, you have a whole different mindset. And it's hard to change that. And I think all of this, lifting or ninja or swimming, all these different kinds of sports, it's a lot mental. This is what hurts us the most. That's what makes us quit. It makes us like, oh, I'm not going to try anymore. I can't do that. Instead, it should be, well, I can't do it now. Can't do it yet. But you can do it. It's just, you've got to have that determination. You've got to have that, not going to stop attitude, and fight through the negativity that says I can't do it, or I'm too old, or it's too late for me, or I used to, I can't now. You got to fight through that, and but stop if you're starting to hurt, if you feel the bad hurt.
Yeah.
The good hurt and the bad hurt, the one that's you're getting stronger, and the one that like, oh no,
you're in pain.
Yeah, that's my shoulder's sore. All these joints, we have to take care of those joints so much. My daughter used to say she wanted to build armor around her joints to protect them.
Has she managed to do that?
Oh, I think so. But, she's had so many different surgeries. She's a risk taker. She's a stunt actress as well as a ninja. And
oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of whiplash and a lot of crazy things that she goes through, but she's getting stronger again. She's gone through, a couple of years ago, she did 3 different surgeries at the same time. She did knee, shoulder, and when that healed enough for her to be able to push herself up, she did the other shoulder. So she did those 3 huge surgeries in a year's time.
Is that from being a stunt person, or is that from Ninja Warrior, or a combination of both?
It's probably a combination of both. But yes, she initially almost dislocated her shoulder. She did some tearing in Ninja Warrior in the competition, and so she was out for a while with all that. But injuries happen; they're accidents. But you want to get as balanced as you can possibly get in your training, so that if I always liken it to a tennis player or a baseball player. They're always hitting to the same side if they're batting or using their racket. So in your training, you have to balance your body out, because, well, we're not perfectly balanced anyway. So if you get imbalanced on one side, then you make up for it with the other, and then you start to have injuries. So that's another good reason to have good training.
Absolutely. And on that tennis note, tennis is apparently the sport that promotes longevity the best out of every sport. The science says that tennis is the sport to play if you want to live long. Obviously, it's not.
I thought it would be swimming
in general. I believe you do swimming. I believe you probably balance swimming.
I think swimming. You say science says tennis is?
Indeed.
I would think swimming, because you can do it for so long. I did, I do a lot of competitive swimming, and I did the national games, or Olympics as they call it, and that's for people 50 and above. And I saw people in their 80s and 90s and hundreds. There's a lady in 100, 101 that are still swimming, and they have a good range of movement. So I don't know that you can play tennis that long.
My granddad is a octogenarian, and there's 4 of them. They're all 80 plus, and they all go play doubles twice a week, and it's very cute. But
That's
I
nice.
don't
That's good.
what you mean. I don't think it's tennis to the level where it's anything close to Federer or Nadal, but it's they get out, they move, and they hit the.
That's what it's all about.
They actually do play 2 full sets of tennis, which is it's not easy to do that at any age, actually.
No, tennis is the most exhausting. It's great cardio. I had
That's the thing, yeah.
I had to be learn tennis, take tennis lessons for a movie that I was in. Well, it's not a movie; it's a TV series, and so I've never seen anything so exhausting. If you take a lesson for an hour and you're running around that court, now this is singles. It was totally exhausting.
It is. That was my sport growing up, was tennis. My mom actually played for the University of South Florida.
Wow.
And yeah, that's where she was based for university.
Okay, nice.
She was on the tennis team, yeah.
Yeah, that's something to shout about.
Yeah, exactly. So it took you 3 years to do 10 pull-ups, and that shows incredible determination. How many pull-ups can you do now?
The most I've done is 17 strict pull-ups, but I haven't done them on a regular basis. So I would say around 12 to 15 is kind of what I have stayed at. I'd like to get to 20. I really would like to get to 20. So I'm going to start upping that again. It's really such a great upper body workout and strengthening. And when you get to that one where you can't pull up anymore and you're just like straining to get up, that's when you get your most strength. So I always think, just hold on for just a little bit longer. And then that's where I'm going to do the muscle growth, I hope.
Exactly. That's exactly the point of failure, as it's known in the muscle book.
Yeah. So funny story, when I was doing, I climb ropes, and I was climbing for the first time a really high rope. I was going up. I was about like at 35 feet high with a harness this time. And my daughter was shouting down below. I could barely hear, "Go one more." And so I'm thinking, okay, I haven't reached 40 yet. So of course I'm going to do that. So I take another two pulls, get a little higher. And she goes, "Do one more." I'm like, what the heck? So there I do one more, 2 more. I went, she's got to be satisfied now. And I asked her later, why did you say do one more after I made 40? And she said, because that's when you get the most strength. Just try to do one more. So I hear her little voice in my head as I'm doing pull-ups or whatever it is. Do one more.
So is it her voice in your head that helps you with mental resilience and mindfulness, that kind of thing? Is it your daughter's voice in the back of your head saying, come on, you can do this? Is that what it is, or what else is it?
I think it's both of us. We have this absurd determination. It's like it's like a game. It's like a challenge. I can't let it get the best of me. So yeah, I mean, I do hear that and do one more. That would definitely be her voice, but I think she would hear the same thing from me. One more.
I think that's an excellent point that you made about gamifying it. My honors research project was actually on gamification, and you sound like you've managed to use gamification techniques in real life, and that's really interesting for me.
One of the big things I've found and made it more fun is that's exactly what we do, is we make it fun. So a lot of times when we're balancing, it's like, okay, who can go the farthest? Who can do the most this? Let's go and see how many different grips we can do a pull-up on. It all becomes a game and fun. And it's so much more fun when you have a partner, which is another thing I tell seniors all the time, is start walking and get a buddy, because, you got somebody to talk to, and also that you can't stop when they knock at the door and say, let's go. It's like, you got,
an accountability partner.
You want to, yeah. And And then that partner might help you go the step further, like walk a little faster or a little farther. Or maybe, one day you're going to put wrist weights on or ankle weight, So you have, these challenges and somebody to learn and grow with.
That's an excellent idea. And the studies have shown that working out with a partner leads to more significant gains than training by yourself. And that partner could be a personal trainer or a friend. I don't think they specified in the study, but they showed that and again, it's all generalized, like not everyone's the same, but
True.
most people will get better gains working out with a partner.
And be happier, hopefully.
For sure. And it's more enjoyable, like you mentioned, and it's cool to compete as well, as long as it's fun competition, I guess, as long as it's not too like, I hate that guy, I need to do better than probably not the right energy. But again, that actually still might be good.
One of the things in Ninja that I find so encouraging is that they always, at every competition I go to, they're so welcoming. And if you've never done it before and you're terrified, like, oh my gosh, I'm the oldest one in here, they welcome you. They just think it's great that you're there. You got here. You tried, so you fell on that one. That's all right. We've all fallen on the first obstacle at some point or another. And it's just such a welcoming community. And that's so important.
Absolutely. And I think I might be completely misquoting, but I think it was Michael Jordan who said, look at a baby, they fall like 50 times and you think, what, after the 50th time they're just going to give up? Like, no, they keep trying, and that's super important. And baby steps and everything in life.
I do say baby steps a lot to people. Yeah. Progressions, like don't try to do a salmon ladder the very first time or run up a warped wall, because so many people will hurt themselves after not warming up. So you find a good progression to get to the next step. Maybe if you're learning a lache, you can just throw the bar and touch the next one, or just, one step at a time. So I was just going to go to a different subject. And well, first of all, it sounds like you've done a lot of studies and scientific research. I'm going to have to pick your brain. But I tend to do, like I said earlier, push-pull and leg day. And I try to do those so you have a day of rest in between so the muscle can grow. So you're basically, let's say you have a chest day where you're doing push-ups or something, you're working that muscle and you're doing micro tears. You can tell me if I'm right or not, because I think you know the science better than me, but you're doing micro tears. So the day of rest gives it time to grow stronger. So you don't want to keep, tearing micro tears every single day, because it's going to take you so much longer. So that's why there's a day of rest. If you're going to do the chest, triceps, shoulders one day, and then maybe your back and biceps another day, legs another day. So you're working the whole body. Or abs, you can do that, and you can do cardio at the same time as you do all that too. So I usually say like 3 times a week for strength training and for 5 days for cardio and a day of rest, kind of as a general rule. Some people do more, but you need the day of rest too. And that's
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that will help you grow stronger quicker.
Absolutely. No, you need to be resting. You don't need to be resting so long. Like, for example, you mentioned that you do push-pull legs. A more optimal in terms of muscle growth, like you're not training strictly for that, but the science has shown that trying to train a muscle twice a week is significantly better than training a muscle once a week. So for example, doing a chest day or training chest on Monday and Friday is better than just training chest on Wednesday, for example. But I totally agree. You don't want to train every single day. You need at least 1 to 3 or 4 days rest every single week.
In between. Oh, okay, yeah.
In between. So if you can give your muscle 24 to 48 hours, that's great. And then it doesn't even have to be a specific time frame. The exact, well, not the exact science, but what they recommend is when you're ready, when your muscle feels ready and you're not sore anymore, that's when you're ready to train it again, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it's all about listening to the body, which is not an exact science by any means, but that's what
it's very important to do, because we just, I'm so close to getting an obstacle and you just want to get it so badly, but your muscles are sore and you're like, I try to tell myself, okay, let's go over and do some balance for a while. Like, let me just walk away from it, because, then you start to do damage and you don't want to do the injury and be out for longer.
Yeah. If you're sore, stop. Or if it's if you're not sure, rather just be safe in general. Obviously, it's not true for everyone. Like sometimes I'm feeling that's not feeling 100%, but then I do it and it actually almost fixes itself, because you're just, I don't know, but don't do it if it hurts. If it hurts, stop that exercise, do a different exercise. Like you said, work on balance, do mobility, do something else.
Well, I got to say that I would say, for being a senior, we touched on this earlier, I've seen so many people that are now working out so much more as they age. And I'm heartened by that. I see these senior games are amazing to watch. Somebody who is, 90, 100 years old, breaking world records, and staying active. I love that. I wish they would show that more to the general public, so that we would get that as our own way of living. And diet, of course, diet goes right along with it. So once you start your program of exercise, and whatever your passion is, and you commit to it and you make it a habit, then the diet comes along with it, because you want to eat to be able to, do more things.
Perform.
Yeah. So they fit together so well.
Absolutely.
And then you're exhausted, so you sleep.
It's a fantastic synergistic effect. It's a trifecta, like you mentioned, the sleep. I struggle to sleep if I don't exercise in the day, because I've got so much energy, and it's like I'm not tired, and then you sleep badly, and then the next day, now you actually don't have energy because you messed up on your sleep. So it is important to try and get the different factors going when you can. Don't overdo it all at once, but like you said, they will pick up the more you get into your fitness journey.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, it's been a long journey, but I just hope that more seniors will see from what I post, or others like me. There are plenty of people that are out there at my age and older, and will decide to make that part of their routine in some way, even if it's only 20 minutes in the morning before they go to work. I think there's that period when people are raising their family and they're working, and the exercise goes out the window. But, there are plenty of people who exercise with their kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kids are not an excuse to not exercise. In fact, I believe that a mother's fitness level directly correlates to their child's health.
I've heard that. Yeah. I've heard that.
I haven't seen that study. I've also heard that that's not something that I've seen in an academic study, but I also saw that, just a disclaimer.
Yeah.
But that makes a lot of sense. That does, for me, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, when you look at Jessie, so she's.
Yeah, exactly.
She did see me always exercising, and I did teach dance for a while when I was single. So she got a lot of that into her system right then and there. She did gymnastics when she was young. So I think that certainly gave her, a one-upmanship when it comes to exercise.
Absolutely. And a one-up on Ninja Warrior, and being a stunt person. Doing gymnastics is a fantastic sport for those two activities.
Exactly. Yeah.
Many people believe that age limits physical ability. What message would you like to convey to those people who think they're too old to start or excel in physical activity?
First and foremost, you're never too old. And it's never too late to chase a dream. And if you fall, get up and try harder. I'd say make a commitment, be consistent, make it a habit, have fun with it. Find what you like, have fun with it, be safe, make a plan, and enjoy the process. Don't always go for the goal, but see what your progress has been. So you need to take baby steps. And I always make attainable goals. Like when I went to the personal trainer, I want to get 5 pull-ups. And I felt that was doable. I didn't say 100 pull-ups. I said 5. So, you may not want to go in and say, I want to lose 40 pounds right away. That's a long-term goal, but I mean, got to give yourself, the step-by-step. We can accomplish a lot more than we think we can, but you'll never know if you don't try. I would say to seniors to get up, to start walking, to walk a little faster, get the heart pumping, to find that sport or just exercise that you enjoy. Find somebody to do it with. Don't let the negativity creep in, and don't compare yourself to others. It's you want to do a little bit better each time. So I think if you keep at it, you can make what seems impossible possible. Don't give up after 6 months. Isn't that what the studies say? That people give up?
Absolutely.
Maybe 3
Most
months.
people give up.
Yeah.
I think it's after the first month, most people give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you mentioned, you only saw gains after, I think you said 7 months,
I noticed
or you noticed at 7 months.
people noticed.
Other people.
Yeah. They said, well, you look like you're getting more toned and more defined. And I went, yeah. And that was just at 7 months, but that was huge. That kept me going.
That's an awesome feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, anyway, I hope, that I can inspire women, men, all ages. I'd like to be a role model for my grandchildren so that they can see what's possible. And
How old are they?
What was that?
How old are they?
Oh,
How old?
My granddaughter is 8 years old, and my grandson is 1 year old.
Oh, wow.
So we'll get him hanging from a bar pretty soon. So,
Are these Jessie's kids?
no, my son has 2.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know the family dynamics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's right. Yeah. So let's keep trying to get the message out there around the world. I don't know what is the dynamic in, if you mind my asking, in South Africa. Does everybody fit? Are they like in US where they, overindulge, let's say? What is the level of fitness that you see?
So the level of fitness that I see is a very elite level, because that's just my kind of sphere that I'm in. I'm in the fitness. I love fitness. I gym 5-6 times a week. I've grown up playing tennis and squash and sport my whole life. So I was at a very sporty school. I was a sporty kid. So from my perspective, my individual perspective, I see South Africans as incredibly fit. And you see the rugby, you see the cricket, you see the top athletes, and they really, sport is a huge culture in South Africa.
Great.
I believe that the statistics show something different. So that's my very small and group of people from where I've grown up in my situation. But I think the general statistic is that obesity is well on the rise. Malnutrition is huge, because unfortunately we have a very big income gap, that we suffer from a lot of poverty, and that poverty unfortunately leads to really bad diets, and a lack of resources to be able to gym and train and that kind of thing. And these people, most of them are struggling to survive. So the last thing on their mind is fitness and being healthy. And it's awful and terrible and really sad, but I feel like these people have more, not more important, because I think fitness is very important, but it's not a priority at the moment for them. And it is something that South Africa needs to change. And the only way we're going to change it is with huge government intervention and new policies, basically.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I think in the 60s in the U.S., there was a big push towards physical activity. So they did start a whole program in all the schools. But then with budget costs and stuff, that went away. But I think that kind of a thing would be very helpful. Now, when I was growing up, I never did sports. Like I said, I mean, we didn't have many for women in high school. I think there were only 3 different sports for women. And I'd never been in a gym until I was 63. So that's my main message to seniors is it's never too late, because sometimes you think you can't grow muscle when you're older, but you can. So whether you've stopped working out or you never did work out, you definitely can get that going right now at any time, preferably as young as possible. But then as you age, you can always start. It's just never too late.
Absolutely. What were those 3 sports available to females?
The 3, this was just in my community.
Oh, okay.
It was volleyball, track, and swimming. Now, the swimming wasn't in the pool, in the school. They had to travel out to do the swimming. But I never did any swimming in a sport-related activity. So I was a majorette in high school. So I was active. That was the kind of thing. Mostly, I think, for women, the big thing was cheerleading, majorette, that kind of a thing. But not. I'm sure there were people that played tennis, but it wasn't, competitive.
I understand. I love your message of strength is ageless, and you can build strength at any age. And I like that you say age and experience should not be a barrier. And I love the way that you use baby steps to make the impossible possible. I think that's truly inspiring.
Yeah. Thanks. Well, believe it or not, Abe Lincoln, who was one of our presidents, said it's not the years in your life that count. It's the life in your years. I like that one too. I think that's simple, but very succinct. And I think the strength also comes from within. The outer muscles show all the hard work, but the inner strength is what gives you the driving force. So that's something I don't know that you can be taught. But if you're taught that you can chase that dream, if you're taught that that is possible, then perhaps you can build that strength, that inner strength.
Absolutely. And what are your plans for the future?
Okay, well, I'll go on American Ninja Warrior again, because I have to get past, the second obstacle. So at some point I will. I don't know if I won't this next year, because that's already been filmed. I will. I've got some ideas for doing some more Guinness records. So I just have to apply them and see if they will accept them. I want to keep doing my personal best in swimming. I think I like competition, because it seems like I'm competing in every direction I go to. So it's like a personal goal. But in swimming, I'm swimming against myself. I want to keep getting better. And like ninja, like tennis, like everything, there are so many things to learn about it to get better. So I hope I keep getting better, because I'm not sure what I'm going to do if I don't keep getting better. That would be a tragedy. I'm just kidding now, but it does help you keep going. I also want to do some more rock climbing. I do enjoy that, bouldering and rock climbing. So I think I still want to get stronger. I think that probably just about wraps it up.
100%. Those are some awesome goals. And I look forward to hearing about these new world records. And I'm sure you're going to achieve everything that you want to, and you're going to get those goals for swimming. I'm very glad that the times have changed from the 60s, and that people are now encouraged to work out. And my message, I obviously want to get your message out of this, but to the female thinking they're going to get too bulky. Most men try their whole lives to get too bulky. You're not going to get too bulky by accident. Well, I mean, maybe like not strong bulky. I mean, like muscly bulky. If you do, please let me know and tell me your training plan. I want it. And
my training plan for what? For not getting too bulky?
No. So if someone figures out how to get too bulky by mistake, I want to know about it.
Okay.
And then I think it would be awesome to show more older people doing games, doing activities, and it should be televised and shown more often than it is. I totally agree. I think the Masters, Olympic Games, those kind of things should be a way bigger deal than they are at the moment.
I would agree with that. Definitely. As we see more and more older people doing more sports, it doesn't have to be extreme like ninja, but sports in general are just going to make you feel better. They give you more confidence and self-esteem. You're just capable of doing more things, and I think it certainly would raise people's spirits.
Exactly. There are good examples of that, like yourself, like the Masters, the Wimbledon guys, those guys, as well as bodybuilders now, in the 80s and 90s, going on shows, and that all of you are incredibly inspiring. What advice or parting words of wisdom do you have for our listeners who are looking to embark on their own journey of muscle growth and health?
Oh, wow. So, well, never too late, never too old. Strength is ageless. The body doesn't break down just because we age. That we need to constantly work on movement. It starts slow and just move more and more each day. If you go, a block one day, then maybe the next day you can go further and farther and get the heart going, get the muscles working. But work on balance is so important. Work on your grip strength. Get those rubber bands out. I think that any kind of movement is going to be good for you. I think also to work on the diet, get the sleep, and you're going to feel better for it, and it's going to determine the quality of your life. So, yeah. So, I think also I have a saying that I like a lot too, and it's by Winston Churchill, and it's success isn't final, failure isn't fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts.
Goodbye, Gains Gurus. Thank you for listening, and see you on the next episode of TMGP.